Did you know that SteamWorld has been around since 2010, the SteamWorld franchise by Image and Form? It started with SteamWorld Tower Defense on the DSi. It was DSiWare. And here we are in 2017, and the series is still going strong. I almost never checked it out. My entry point into the franchise was SteamWorld Dig, which was the second game in the SteamWorld series. That came out on 3DS originally, and I almost didn't play it. I saw trailers, and I was like, I was covering it for Go Nintendo, and I was like, whatever. Didn't look like something that I would be into. But then I had a colleague tell me that I should really check it out with something special, so I was like, alright, I'll take the recommendation. And I'm really glad I did, because not only did it turn out to be one of my favorite games on a 3DS, it turned out to be one of my favorite games, period. Image and Form did an amazing job with SteamWorld Dig, and they've done an amazing job with every SteamWorld game since then. And that brings us up to SteamWorld Dig 2, a direct sequel to SteamWorld Dig. And I don't say this lightly, I think it's their best game ever, and that's in a series of absolutely fantastic games. SteamWorld Dig 2, just like SteamWorld Dig, is a Metroidvania title. You go around a giant map, you collect items, you explore, you gain new abilities, and those let you access new areas. The big difference is SteamWorld Dig was procedurally generated, and SteamWorld Dig 2 is handcrafted, block by block. Image and Form went in and made the game exactly the way they wanted to, rather than just letting, randomness take over. And I was a little worried about that at first, just because I thought the random aspect of SteamWorld Dig was really cool. I mean, you had certain areas that you would always go to, and certain plot points that would always happen. It's just, the place where a door would change or something like that. So in the grand scheme of things, that actually doesn't really matter. And of course, when you're playing SteamWorld Dig SteamWorld Dig 2 for the first time, it's random because you've never played it before, so you don't know where anything is. So it ended up not being a big deal for me at all. Using Metroidvania as a blanket term to describe the core of SteamWorld Dig 2 is okay, but it really doesn't do the rest of the game justice, because there's so many other elements in there, there's so many other mechanics and tidbits to the gameplay that it's hard to describe them all. The game does a little bit of everything, and the crazy thing is, it does them all ridiculously well. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me, because Image and Form does this with all their games. They have like a core set of mechanics, and then there's so many other things in there to spice up the gameplay and to give players new things to do, and they do them all ridiculously well, and SteamWorld Dig 2 is exactly the same. For example, believe it or not, you do a lot of digging in SteamWorld Dig 2. That's how you get around. You explore by digging through the terrain. It's platforming and digging. So when you go down into the caves, you need to be able to see. You have a lantern with you, but that lantern runs on fuel, and your fuel's going to run out fairly quickly. So you have to return to the surface or some other locations that will refill your lantern, and then you drop back down into the cave and you do it over and over again. Now, right off the bat, you can upgrade your lantern. You just need a little bit of cash, which is, very easy to come by, because while you're digging, you find different minerals and gems and stuff that you take back to the surface in exchange for cash. So you can upgrade your lantern so that it lasts longer in the dark, and you can also continue without upgrading your lantern. It'll make it harder to see what's around you, but not impossible. It's completely up to you, but, obviously you want to upgrade this stuff. And that's what you do in SteamWorld Dig. You upgrade everything. You upgrade your pickaxe so that you can dig quicker. There's water tanks that you have that let you shoot like a bomb that you can upgrade, so you have more of those and they don't take as much. There's other things that are powered by water, so the more you upgrade your water tanks, the more use you'll get out of those items. And it's a constant rinse and repeat of, oh, I want to upgrade this element, or oh, I'd like this to work a little bit longer or a little bit better. So you go down, you dig, you find the things that you can cash in at town, and then you upgrade whatever you want. Completely separate from that is cogs, which are also scattered around the environment, but they're harder to find. Now, cogs you also use at the upgrade bench where you're using money on your items, but cogs allow you to gain different abilities. So you might use 2 cogs, and that lets you not get hurt by your own bomb's explosions. Or you might use 3 cogs, and that'll let you collect water resources from blowing up a resource block, something like that. There's even a cog attribute that lets you make the game harder. Now, the big difference between cogs and cash are, when you upgrade your pickaxe with cash, that's it, the upgrade is done. when you upgrade an attribute with a cog, you can reassign those cogs as you play. So you can put cogs on different attributes depending on what you're trying to do, where you're trying to get, who you're trying to fight, where you're trying to explore, and then you can go back to the workbench and change them. So they're never locked into place. You never spend a cog and it's gone. You can completely put them wherever you want, which is fantastic because, like I said, depending on what you're doing at the time, you could reassign your cogs and make it easier or more difficult if you want to. You have all these items to use, and you have all these attributes that you can switch around as you're playing, and they all let you explore an absolutely massive environment where you're going to need to use everything to get around. And this environment is really varied in where it takes you. Like I said, you'll explore caves, but even just saying they're caves doesn't do them justice, because the deeper you go into the caves, the different enemy types you'll see, the different types of ground there will be, the different types of hazards you'll find. There will be offshoots that take you to all new locations. If you're focusing on just the story and not exploring on your own, then you're going to get to see towns, and you're going to get to see other locations. I mean, you could explore on your own and find those as well, but... And then on top of that, if you don't want the game to tell you where to go and what to do, like you don't want an objective marker on the screen, you don't have to have it. You can turn that off, and you can also turn it on whenever you want. So if you want to explore and happen upon the story on your own, or happen upon whatever part of a cave, you can do that. And then if you get lost and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do, then you can flip on that indicator and it'll show you where to go, which is fantastic. It's both ways for both type of players, and I think that's really smart, especially when you're talking about a Metroidvania game where there's massive amounts of exploration and all different kinds of environments to see. I always find Metroidvania games to be really enticing, but Image & Form has this way of creating gameplay loops in their games that are just so addictive and enticing and engaging. And they did it in SteamWorld Dig and Heist as well, and they did it in SteamWorld Dig too. They just have a way of putting things together that put you into a flow that you never want to break. So like you're playing the game, you go down into a cave and you explore, and you're like, I wonder what's around this corner, or I wonder what's I wonder what's over there if I take this path. And then you go and explore, and you see something, and you're like, oh, I'm running out of resources, so you take a teleporter. There's like steam tubes that you can happen upon that'll take you up to the surface, so it's not like you have to climb all the way back up each time. So you go up there, you refill your stuff, you cash in the gems that you collected, you upgrade your abilities and your items and stuff like that, and you're like, oh, now I can break this type of block, or oh, now I can do this to reach a new area. You go back down into the cave, you explore a little bit more, you go somewhere you couldn't go before, and you're like, oh, I wonder what's around this corner, I wonder what there is to see over here. And it just keeps happening over and over again, and you never want to stop. And then on top of that, you'll happen upon doors, like cave doors, while you're exploring. And these will take you into little one-off like puzzle rooms. Some are more puzzle-oriented, some are more action puzzle-oriented. And these rooms will provide cogs and other collectibles and stuff like that, and, you know, some gems and stuff like that. So you go through there and you're like, oh, I found a door. You go in, you collect that stuff. You're like, oh, I wonder what's here. And then it's great because when you leave those areas, you can look at the map and the door will show you a check mark. If there's a check mark, it means you got everything in that room. If there isn't a check mark, it means you missed something, and you can go back in and try and find it. And sometimes you might not have an ability to let you find all the hidden content in there, so you'll have to come back to it. So having the check mark there really helps. You can gain some new abilities and be like, oh, I got to go back in there and see if I can find a thing that I missed. And all of this working together makes it so addictive. I mean, I can't... the best thing I can tell you about the game is I never wanted to stop playing. I played way too long, I played way too much, and there was never a time where I was like, man, I'm tired of this, I want to stop. It was always like, well, I could push it for another half hour. I'll be fine in the morning. And, you know, that's a great thing to say about a game. You never want to put it down. You never want to stop playing. I haven't even touched on the game's soundtrack, which, again, their previous games have had fantastic soundtracks, and that's the same case here. There's soundtracks for their games. I don't know, they do a great, they're a great mix of ambient and memorable tunes. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. They're ambient looping tunes, but they just fit the environments. It's not like a soundtrack I've heard in any other game. All the SteamWorld games have a very unique vibe to them, and SteamWorld Dig 2 has that. The main town has a fantastic song. The stuff you hear when you're down digging, it's so good. I cannot tell you how much it really heightens the experience. Some of the songs give me goosebumps. That's what I can say about them. Like, it's just, they fit so well with what you're doing. Like, when you're digging down deep in a cave and you're hearing the song that's playing, it fits. It really fits. It makes the experience more enjoyable and seem more real. It's just a wonderful soundtrack. They have wonderful sound design altogether, and I cannot tell you enough that if you need to play this with headphones on if you're playing in handheld mode, or make sure you have your stereo cranked all the way up, because this is some fantastic music. I could gush on about SteamWorld Dig 2 forever, and this is a trend with me and Image Inform's projects, because every time they put out a game, I'm like, man, it's not going to get any better than this. They've blown me away, and then their next game comes out, and SteamWorld Dig 2 has done that. When I think of video games, when I think of how great games make me feel, like the wonder and the excitement and the fun and stuff like that, I think of Image Inform just like I think of Nintendo. Image Inform is such a passionate team of developers. There's so much heart and soul, and it absolutely screams through the game itself. There's no way for you to get around it. It's just crafted with such loving care, and it's clear that these guys want to do something amazing with each one of their games that they put out. These are their babies, and that really comes through. SteamWorld Dig 2 is a fantastic experience. It's one of the best games available on the Switch right now. It's one of the best games I've played in years. There's no such thing as a perfect game. But for me, when I do think of games that come close to perfect, this is as good as it's gonna get. Like, I put this right neck and neck with Nintendo's greatest hits. It's an amazing experience from top to bottom. I can't recommend it enough. If you have a Switch, you should have this game. And I know that, you know, there's been other reviews that say stuff like that about other games, and I'm hoping my passion is coming through and showing you that I really believe that you need to play this game. It's absolutely amazing. I could both talk about it forever and be at a loss of words when I'm trying to describe it. So, if you've been on the fence, don't be on the fence. This is a game you should absolutely have, and I have to guarantee you're going to have a fantastic time. I did, and I wish I could go back in time, forget everything about it, and play it over again for the first time, because it was just that enjoyable. Hey guys, RMC here from Go Nintendo. If you like what you saw in the video, why don't you give us a thumbs up and maybe even subscribe? We'd love to have you. If you want to see what else we're up to, you can check out GoNintendo.com for 24-hour Nintendo news. You can visit us on Facebook at Facebook.com/GoNintendo. You can check us out on Twitter at Twitter.com/GoNintendoTweet. And we're even over on Instagram at Instagram.com/GoNintendo. I put all the links in the description just to make it easier for you guys to follow. Thanks a lot.